Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Always lovely to have you here. If you're a new listener, welcome. Glad you're here. If you've been with us before, welcome back. I am so happy to have our guest here today who has a great practice, also does some coaching. Let me tell you about Nick Bognar. Nick is a licensed marriage and family therapist and founder of Nick Bognar Coaching, LLC, based in Pasadena, California, where evidently they're having big rains today. He owns a thriving practice with 5 associates and specializes in men's mental health and codependency. In addition to his therapy practice, Nick is the creator of Action Practice Building, a coaching program and digital course designed to help therapists grow sustainable, relationship-based, values-driven private practices. Those are great descriptors and just mission critical. Drawing on his experience across business, hospitality, and therapy, Nick teaches clinicians how to build their caseloads through authentic, nourishing professional relationships without relying on hustle or gimmicks. Nick's work has been featured in NPR, the New York Times, Medium, and other outlets. Whether in the therapy room, through his coaching programs, or as a media contributor, he is passionate about helping people live fuller lives, strengthen their relationships, and grow practices that align with their deepest values. Welcome, Nick Bognar. Thank you so much for being here today.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
My distinct pleasure. Folks, this always happens. I said to Nick, just as we were starting to chat and I was about to press record, I said, having authentic relationships is mission critical. We're going to start here as the snowcase place to start. And then we were both saying it's incredible how little training we got about the importance of having those authentic relationships with colleagues. So, to your point, what did you say? You said we just didn't get that in graduate school.
Yeah, we had one little aside comment from one instructor. And I used to get really upset when I thought about the fact that we weren't trained in that way. And then when I thought about it, I really feel in retrospect like my school did a great job using the time to teach us clinically important and relevant stuff. So I have given up that resentment, but I do think that it's really important for the supervisors, the private practice supervisors, the mentor figures, those of us who are senior in the field, to spread the message to the new people to go out and make those relationships and get to know people because it's critical for any amount of success in this business.
Hmm. I could not agree with you more. When people ask me how I built my practice, it was on relationships. I specifically and deliberately put myself in situations where I was creating relationships with people. Psychology today is great, but it's not going to fully cut it. We could have
Sure.
that conversation all day long. But tell us from your perspective about authentic relationship building. We're all therapists. We kind of think we understand what that is. But why is that so important for us when we're thinking about private practice?
Because our actual business, the thing that we actually have for sale, is authentic relationships. This is the thing that either makes us good at our job or bad at our job. It's the major predictor of success in client outcomes is the relationship with the therapist. And so if we can't or won't do that with fellow clinicians, then we are really giving them a preview of how unhelpful we will be as therapists. The other side of that is that if we can go out and be really kind, generous, authentic, interested, welcoming to other people, then that's a wonderful advertisement for the experience that clients will get when they come into our office.
Such a good point, right? It's kind of a live demo of how we're going to be clinically. But what if I am kind of an introvert and I think of networking events and marketing and like all those things that therapists don't want to do? How do I make this happen for myself?
Well, I think there's a couple things. One thing is that we have to remember that the other people in the room, the other therapists, are as interested in real relationships as we are. And so I don't think it puts introverts at a disadvantage to not want to talk to a million people or not want to have a bunch of small talk. If I'm in a gathering of therapists, I mean, I don't trauma dump. But I also will often skip the classic Los Angeles conversation starter of like, which highway did you take to get here? Or anything about the weather or sports. We often can skip that and we can just talk about stuff that really matters. And so I actually think that once you understand that you have permission to really be your actual self and not your performative self, then there's a lot of leeway there. And then the other thing, just functionally, that I'll say is it's about dosage. If you can't handle a lot of interactions, then go in for a very short period of time, meet a small handful of people, and then go. No one has ever said that you need to stay at one of these networking events for 3 hours. Make it a tight 30 minutes, meet some people, be really nice, get some business cards, and bail. This, like every other aspect of our business virtually, is something you can do in a way that suits you.
Oh, that's such great advice, right? Because people will see there's an open house, there's a networking event, and they'll bring a stack of cards and they won't think in advance about how am I going to go into this space and what am I going to do? And
Right.
we just go in and have a conversation with somebody, right? I mean, it's yeah, hopefully most of us are really good at that.
Hopefully, I mean, and if we're not, that's an important advertisement too. It's good for people to know if we're not good at that. But if I can tell a very short story, a
Please.
zillion years ago, I went to a networking event. This was when I was brand new and I was really trying everything to get out there and to tell people about my business and to advertise and all the stuff that frankly nobody really wants to be approached with. You know what I mean? Nobody wants that person that's like desperately trying to put their business card in your hand, right?
Mhm. Nope.
And one day I got to this event at the Monrovia in Monrovia, California for San Gabriel Valley Camped, and I was just exhausted. And I thought, I just cannot do this today. I'm going to go and I'm going to make a friend because I just don't have the bandwidth to do this. And I saw a woman sitting alone at a table, and I sat down and chatted with her, and she just turned out to be a wonderful person. And I see her once every two
Mm.
years or so at a networking event, total sweetheart. And I got to say that I don't know if we exchanged any business, to be honest with you, but my experience at that event was so much better and so much more meaningful that I decided that I was going to do it that way from there on out. And I did not have any problem filling my business from that point. I mean, it wasn't
Mm.
fast, but it didn't require me to do the kinds of, somersaults that I thought I had to do to make it happen.
Right, exactly, right. I am way too late in life to do a somersault anymore. That's for darn sure.
Right?
So if somebody is going to an event or is trying to build their caseload and we're saying, okay, look, just go and you be you.
Hmm.
Um, you're also talking about relationship building, which isn't a one-off, right? I
No.
mean, you and I could have this lovely conversation. It'll be about half an hour. If I wanted to have some kind of connection with you, maybe we've done that. Like you're a likable guy,
Oh,
or
thank
I
you.
don't know what your pronouns are, but I'm calling you a likable. You're a
Yeah,
likable human.
he, him. No
He,
problem.
him. Okay, just checking. But if I was trying to create a business related or any kind of connection with you beyond this half hour, what would I need to be doing with my colleagues to create a relationship? Because in our business, we want to refer to people we trust and we want to consult with people we trust. What do I do next?
What a fabulous question. So I would say that the step, and I say yes to this when people do this to me, and I do this to other people, is I would say, I would write an email and say, hey, it was really great to meet with you. And then I would mention something that we talked about so that the recipient knows that you're not sending this email to 200 people. So they know they're getting this email because you liked them and you valued something specifically in them. And then you give them an invitation that's easy to accept. I'd love to get coffee sometime in the next month. Do you have any time in your schedule? Thursdays and Fridays are usually great for me. And then offer that. And then they might say yes or they might say no. And either of those things is fine. But it's really about personalizing it, making the person know that you are interested in them as a person, and then giving them a very easy to accept or very easy to follow invitation.
Yeah, right. Something like coffee doesn't
Yeah,
have to be dinner or lunch.
sure.
It can be a
Yeah,
coffee. It can be, I'll stop by and bring you coffee. Do you have half an hour
love
available?
that.
Right?
Hmm.
Somebody connected with me recently and said, I'd love to get to know you. They, had heard of my practice. And so I met him at a Starbucks. I thought, all right, I'm going to carve out half an hour. We spent
Hmm.
probably at least an hour, maybe an hour and 15, because
Yeah.
I really liked him. I thought he was interesting. And, I said, so here's the deal. Because I think he's going around and doing this a lot with folks. Good guy. I said, let's schedule a follow up because
Hmm.
you're doing this project. I'm doing this project. Let's schedule a follow up. I pulled out my calendar. Let's do it right now. And then it's on the book. And
Yep.
so we can reconnect again. So, right, do you think some people really miss opportunities because they think, all right, I passed out a business card. I sat next to somebody. I chatted with them. I'm good to go. And they don't do the next step.
I do. And I think that's a really fundamental error in approach by which I would mean to say that this is a really hard sort of hill for people to scale, but you have to stop thinking about it in terms of your business and you have to start thinking about it in terms of your friendships. And you have to be authentic. If you're trying to be friends with everybody, if you're trying to just stack meetings on meetings, if you're trying really hard to make sure that the other person knows everything about your business, then you're probably coming off inauthentic because you're kind of trying to manipulate them a little bit. And it's not in a malevolent way. You're not trying to hurt them, but it's a thing that people can sense. People can sense when you
Mhm.
need something from them. If you really can change your focus to, I am going to go out here and make friends and I am going to trust that will carry my business to where it needs to be, then it will. Because the truth is, people want to send business to their friends. People want to send clients to people that they like, and especially if they have the kind of values to understand that clients who are vulnerable people and mentally ill people need to land with somebody who's going to be kind and welcoming to them, then
Mhm.
that's all the advertisement you ever need. You can leave your resume at home.
You can leave your resume at home. I
Yeah.
love that. Love that. So if I'm trying to connect with someone and
Mhm.
I sit down and I've scheduled a meeting or I have offered to bring them a coffee and we have a lovely conversation and then I follow up, how often have you found that people ought to be doing that? What's expected next?
It's really different per person. And I would say, again, this is where we want to take it away from a business strategy and take it towards a friend strategy. There are people you are going to meet that you love and that you want to hang out with all the time. And I would say hang out with those people all the time if they're down with it. There are people that you really like and that you're going to be stoked to see twice a year for breakfast, and that's great. Do that. There are going to be people that you like and respect and that you'd send business to, but you're happy to see them once a year at the regular networking event, and that's fine. And there are going to be plenty of people that you never want to see again. And all those things are great. And then I would just be really authentic about that. I mean, don't say, I think you're about a twice a year person. Thank you.
Yeah,
But
right.
if you
Yep.
want to hang out with them, invite them to hang out. And if you don't, then don't. And that's A-OK. We all have ideally far too many contacts in our professional careers to be masquerading that they're all our best friends all the time.
Right, that they're all our best friends all the time. And I think it's important to go into a newer relationship with someone where I'm trying to create a referral connection or a referral friendship,
Mhm.
where I'm going to assume that I'm going to give more than I get. That
Yes,
I'm
it's
not going to
brilliant.
sit back, or I'm going to sit back and say, I hope they send me business. I'm going to send them an article. I'm going to send them a card that, I saw at the store that made me think of them. I'm going to send them a client, perhaps.
Yes.
And hopefully something will come in return.
Yep. That's so brilliant. And I got to say, the more that you are thinking about filling other people's practices, the more you are thinking about helping other people build their businesses, the more they will build yours and you won't even have to worry about it. And it's so much easier. Maybe this is the codependent in me, but it's so much easier to focus on building somebody else's business than it is on building my own. I think that's so
Right?
important. Also, something you mentioned that I just want to make sure it doesn't go unmentioned is that, like, in 2025, never underestimate the power of written mail.
Hmm.
If you have a chance to connect with somebody via a written note or something, it is magical because nobody gets those anymore. And we still have to check our mail every day and we still have to shred a million little demo credit cards. And we never get a tiny little handwritten card. And it's powerful when we do.
It's incredibly powerful when someone drops off or sends me a little handwritten note. I get a little dump of dopamine from it. It's
Yeah.
really kind of delightful. Like they took the time that they meant something.
Mhm.
Great, that's fine, but it doesn't have the same punch. So, it sounds like some of these skills for practice owners, some of this can be really useful in-house too, for those of us who have a staff.
Mhm.
Because I mean, being a practice owner isn't easy, and you're a practice owner, I'm a practice owner. Oh, there's a lot that we're carrying. Can you speak to how important this kind of concept is for practice owners with their staff?
I think it, I think that from my business perspective, my reputation and my relationship with the community is absolutely everything. If that's great, I'm doing great. If that's poor, I'm doing poorly. And I think it can't be overstated that that's the case. And so I really want from my associates, I train them formally and informally. I want my associates to take this philosophy of mine of being professional, friendly, welcoming, and interested out in the community. And I want people to know them by that behavioral set. And so I really pushed them to do that. And to their credit, you said there were five, two of them just got licensed, which is bittersweet. So there's three now. They
Oh,
are,
let me see. God. Oh, okay. Got
I
it.
know, right? It's bittersweet. I'm so happy for them, but
That's
I've missed the
bittersweet.
two that
Yeah.
got licensed. But I want them to be recognizable out in the field by that approach to how they deal with their colleagues. And they do a great
Mhm.
job with that. So I don't know if that specifically answers your question, but I think really we're going to be known by the relationships we make with people. We might be known by our theoretical orientation. We might be known by some piece of trivia or some accomplishment that we did. But the real truth of the matter is, if you and I meet today, do you swear on this podcast?
Uh-huh. Yep.
Okay. If you and I meet today and you walk away from this going, he was an asshole. It really doesn't matter how much of how impressive I was in this podcast. You would never send a vulnerable mentally ill person to sit in a room with me, and you would be right not to.
Right. That's right. Yeah. Right. So great advice. Don't be an asshole. I
Yeah,
like that.
right?
So, right. So in addition, what you're saying, I think, is teach the people who work with us what the values of the practice are.
Yes.
And if we're teaching newer clinicians, helping them understand relationships and how important that is. I mean, it's some people will think this is very elemental, but it's stunning to me how many people don't do this. To your point, we don't get taught this enough in
Right.
graduate school. And so how do we demonstrate that to our staff? Well, lead by example.
Hmm.
But I love the idea of helping newer clinicians, younger clinicians, or anyone who joins our team understand that this is a part of how we want to show up in the world. So one of my administrative staff with whom, I have a great relationship, generally speaking, somebody had said something one day and she was just kind of surly. I'll use
Okay.
that. She was just kind of surly to everybody else. And I walked up to her and I said, what is going on? I've gotten two complaints from people today that you snapped at them and you're being kind of nasty. What's happening? And she said, well, everybody has a bad day. Am I not entitled to have one? And I looked at her and I said, no, no, you're not. You're entitled to have whatever internal day you're going to have. It is never okay to have that kind of day with anybody on our team.
Right.
Nobody's
Yeah.
nobody deserves that. So if it's in our administrative staff or whatever, fine, come to me, we'll have a conversation. If something's
Right.
bothering you, let's have a conversation. We don't take it out on each other, even when we're having a bad day. So, right, it's just living through example, it sounds like.
Well, and I think if we really want to stretch it into how we are in the room with our clients, right? Here is a situation where this person did a pretty human thing, which was that they had a bad day and then they snapped, right? And then the question would be, did they take the opportunity to say, oh my God, this isn't the person that I want to be? I'm sorry, I'm having a bad day. You don't deserve that. Or to say, hey, listen, Jeffrey, that thing you said really bothered me. It really rubbed me the wrong way, and I want to talk to you about that. Like, we're going to have these slip ups, we're going to have conflicts, we're going to have challenges with clients if we're doing the relational work. And so I think also we're demonstrating how we handle that stuff. And if somebody is going to have a rupture with a client or going to have a misstep, and their response is, well, I'm entitled to do that, then my response would be, yeah, you do sound really entitled.
Mhm. Right. Right.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Which is the honest response. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you find that a fair number of therapists are conflict averse?
Yes. Yes, I do. Don't you?
Yes, 100%. I should
I'm
ask
conflict
that
averse.
differently. Don't should find.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us are because we're good, kind, nice people generally who become therapists. We care about people. We try to help people. We want to have good, nice relationships. But to your point, we're going to have bad days or there might be conflict. So, how do we show up authentically without just avoiding?
I can tell you what I do, and it is emotionally challenging and still requires a lot of work on my part, both in the room and in my own therapy. But I really do my best to see conflicts as opportunities, like rupture opportunities, and that there is a real opportunity, whether it's with a client or a member of the staff or somebody in my personal life, there's an opportunity there to respond in a kind way and potentially to grow stronger. And I think even as I'm hearing myself say that, I think like, oh, that's a little Pollyannish, but that is how I approach it. I try to be generous with my apologies, even if I don't think I've done something wrong, to say, hey, I'm sorry I made you feel that way, because I legitimately am sorry to have made somebody feel that way, even if I
Mhm,
didn't intend to do it, or even if I was misunderstood. I
mhm.
think it can be helpful for people to know that it matters to you that they felt bad. I try to hear people out. I try not to respond quickly. This is like from my own personal history. I learned very early on to respond quickly and with a great deal of fire and nastiness to
Me too.
accusation. Okay, good.
Yep.
I'm glad I'm not alone here.
Oh,
And so
absolutely.
learning that I can take a moment or a day and decide to respond because I know I'm going to do a better job, that are just some of the many tools that I use to undo my childhood programming.
Mhm. I love that. Exactly. Right. And we do need many, oftentimes. Yeah. So, folks, I think the takeaway of that is that a lot of us are conflict averse. If somebody likes conflict, I can't imagine they're going to be a therapist, maybe a litigator, but
Yeah.
they're not necessarily going to be a therapist, right? We're drawn to this. I think this field as being relational and friendly and warm, generally speaking. But there are ways to be able to talk to people and own what's happening without it having to be conflict. And if you aren't watching this, if you're listening, I'm doing air quotes. It's back to kind of what you're saying. It's that authenticity. Look, I'm having a bad day. I really, please don't do blah, blah, blah. Or when you do blah, 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 it causes me to feel blah, blah, blah. It's the same skills we're teaching clients all the time of,
Yeah.
and we need to use them we need to use them in-house as well, right?
Yes. I
Yeah.
mean, everything we do is, I really believe this. Everything we do is telling people something about how we are as a clinician,
Mhm.
whether it's good or bad. I think we're persistently, constantly sending a message.
Consistently and constantly sending a message, persistently and constantly sending a message. I think that's true. So, if you were to give your top three pieces of advice, because as therapists, we don't give advice, but as podcast guests, we do,
That's why you get in the
and
podcasting
hosts,
game.
right? Exactly. What the top three pieces of advice for a clinician who's trying to build their caseload? It's not like the pandemic when clients were falling out of trees onto our couches and our chairs. Now there's a go get. And we want to use relationships to do so because despite psychology today's robust opportunities, they are not sustainable. It's a one off. And so we're looking for renewable resources in relationships with other clinicians. It benefits them, it benefits us. So, what are the top three things you would recommend for people to do?
So the first thing is, I would say that, start to measure the success of your practice in things that you can control and not in things that you cannot control. So the number of meetings or people that you meet out in the field, the number of relationships you build is something that you can control. The number of client phone calls you get is something that you cannot control. And so I think I see all the time people torturing themselves over not getting enough client calls. And the truth is, we don't have control over that. But if you're not getting the calls you want, you can be out there meeting people, making these relationships. And that ultimately, and not in a fast sense, but in a good sense, will fill your business. And I also want to say, just as a point to your thing about Psychology Today, another reason why I think this is so much more powerful than Psychology Today or SEO is that folks who are looking for therapists on Psych Today are, for lack of a better word, randos. They are people who are starting from the very ground level of, I don't know who a therapist is and I want to find them. And that's not their fault. That's not anything bad. They're wonderful and they can be great clients, but they don't really know what to look for because they're not in our field. And so you getting a referral from somebody else who knows what you do and has talked to this client is worth 10 times what having somebody stumble onto your profile from whatever places. So that's thing number one. Thing number two, I would say, is to really take your mind off of the business part of it and focus on the positive relationship aspect of it. Make friends and build up their businesses, and it will happen for you in the reverse. Don't go in, really abandon the notion of needing everybody to know what you do, abandon the notion of having strong referral sources. Go in saying, I want people to feel welcomed, seen, cared about, appreciated. And if you do that, people will know how good of a therapist you are. The third thing I will say is that there is a vast amount of advice and counsel you will get from people that is discouraging. If you want to do something, don't talk to somebody who cannot or has not done it. If you want to do something, talk to somebody who has done it and who can do it, and let them tell you how you can do it. I can't tell you how many times I see people getting discouraged by people who are themselves discouraged or maybe struggling or maybe having a bad day and feeling crappy and entitled or triggered. I hear all of these horror stories and I don't know why people say, well, that person must be right. Go to the person who tells you you can, go to the person who wants to build you up, and take your advice from that person. So those are my
Mm,
top three.
those were great. And right off the top of your head, which says to me, you know what you're talking
To
about.
me, that says there were 10.
I love it. I love it. Bognar, you are delightful, really great information. If folks want to connect with you, what would their experience with you look like? How can they do that if they want to work with you for some consultation? What does that look like? How do they find you?
Thank you for asking. I'm happy to tell you about this. So I have a few things available on offer. I do have on Wednesdays from 11 to 11:30 Pacific time. I have free office hours where I answer business questions for therapists. You can email me from my website to get an invitation to that if you'd like to show up. That's 100% free. If you would like to learn my delightful networking system that has all of the skills and then some that we've crystallized today, along with mindset, addresses, templates, everything you need to start your networking journey, I have an online program called Action Practice Building, which is only for people who can get themselves through a program. If you need somebody to tap you on the shoulder and hold you for accountability, you won't like it. But if you're a person who can take this vast bit of information that I videotaped and apply it in your own life, then you will love this program. That's available. And also, folks are welcome to book individual 50-minute coaching calls with me, and they can do that through my website, nickbognarcoaching.com.
Wonderful. Well, folks, please connect with Nick. I think if you're trying to build your caseload, if you're trying to figure out how to build your practice, this is a great place to go. So, Nick Bognar, thank you. Something
Margo,
else you wanted
yeah,
to
I
say?
would love to if that's okay. So
Yeah.
you're first off, thank you for this interview. You've done such a good job. You are such a gifted interviewer, and you've really
Oh,
made me
thank you.
feel seen, and you've given me so much space to talk about what I want to talk about. But I actually have a question for you. And this
Wonderful.
is your podcast, right? So I have looked at your practice and I have seen it to be enormous. You have an enormous business with many people in it. How did that scale with a relationship focus? Like because I can tell that you value relationships as much as I do, and I can tell that you're still out there getting coffee with therapists, which is amazing. How do you get to as many employees as you have and the breadth of the business that you have while still being able to maintain that person-to-person connection?
Nick, my goodness, you're asking me a question. Thank you. That's great. I really appreciate
Oh, of
that.
course.
So I have 82 clinicians. We have 7 locations.
Holy shit.
Yeah, I know
I didn't
it's,
count. 82.
yeah,
Good
okay,
God.
it's
Okay.
okay. It's a big practice. And my goal is to still have it feel like it's a place that people can call their professional home. It's
Mm-hmm.
a place that hopefully, it's not, I think I started out as one house on a block. It was just me. And then I bought the houses on either side. And then, at this point now we have a bit of a neighborhood. And so we know people better, right? This is kind of the perspective. If we have a larger practice, we know some of our neighbors better than others. That's true for our clinicians as well, but we are very relationship based. There are lots of opportunities within the practice for connecting. There always have been.
Mm-hmm.
I would say my going out into the world and meeting people and creating friendships, creating relationships, exactly, Nick, what you're describing, not expecting anything in return, just being willing to go and have a conversation. I never sit down and tell anybody what my theoretical orientation is, or, I mean, who cares, right? They
Sure.
care about what kind of human I am. I belong to many Chamber of Commerce groups so that I've met people who are in our building, who I walked around every building we've had. I walked around and I just get to know who's at the front desk. Nice to meet you. I give business to other people in the building, in the area, and who are therapists and not. I say, please give me your business cards. Let me tell people about you if I like
Mm-hmm.
them, if
Of
I
course.
don't.
Yeah.
But these are people who I like. So I would say, and I've been in practice now, I was by myself for about 10 years, and I've had the group practice for about 21 years. And that's part of how we've gotten to where we've gotten to, is really through having those good, solid, strong relationships, which is part of the reason I was so delighted to have you on today so we could talk about that. If I were, and I'm not always an extroverted person, that's for sure.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I really am not.
Okay.
There are plenty of times I just don't even feel like it. But when I do,
Amen.
right? When I do, I will make sure that I do something in the service of connecting with somebody else. And so we have lots of wonderful referral partners. Even though I have 82 therapists, I am so delighted. I tell my access team, when you can send this off to somebody, here's a list of people with whom we have relationships. Please, if they're not a good fit for us, this is who we should send them to. We know
Yeah.
them, we like them, we feel good about them. And so we make that happen. It's reciprocal. And I'm more about giving than getting because I have found A, that's how I like to do it. And B, it comes back exponentially. So hopefully that answers your question. Thank you for that question, Nick. That's so wonderful of you to turn
No,
that
thank you
on.
for answering that question. I felt like I got a chance to get it straight up from somebody on the big time.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's been a fun journey and it does continue,
Hmm.
but it is all relationship based. I have something called Coffee and a Chat that I offer every other Tuesday morning, where anybody in our team from anywhere in any of our locations, any state can just, it's a Zoom call, not my
Yeah,
favorite, but
that's true.
they can pop in and we can just chat, say hello, meet colleagues, any opportunity I have internally to create those relationships. I want to grab onto those too. I love them, and I think it's really good for everyone's mental health.
Well, it must make such a huge difference for people to have access to the head of the company. I mean, I think there's such a weird divide between, I had a previous career in business. There's often such a weird divide between the C-suite and the folks who are doing most of the actual work for the company. And yet, I think that it can make such a difference to be or feel seen by the folks running the business. I think you kind of can't pay for that kind of relationship with your employees.
No, you really can't. And I am delighted when people hop on us, and I'm delighted when people hop on that I see every other Tuesday. And I'm delighted when people hop on that I haven't seen for a long time. I'm glad it seems like they're reaching out for some contact and some connection. And I do make myself available. Anybody can email me at any time, and I will set up time to meet with them. As far as I'm concerned, that's my most important job in the practice is to continue.
Yeah.
Right. I have an outreach team. I have a team of administrators. We have people who are clinical managers, right? There are several layers, but from where I sit, our org chart, we're the Juniper Center. We're a tree named during the time when everybody was naming their practice by trees. And right,
Yep.
I kind of think of myself as the base of that tree. I'm
Hmm.
the bottom of the trunk. I've got to have my roots dug into the ground. And I'm holding up, it is my job to support and feed
Hmm.
all of the people who work with me most directly. And then it's their job to feed other folks within the practice. And it's their job until we get to the leaves, which is all, those are all the clients.
Yeah.
But I'm the one who has to pull that sustenance from the ground. I'm the
Yeah.
one to feed it upward. I don't like an org chart that's the opposite where I'm on high looking down. That doesn't make sense to me. So
Right.
that is the model for me. It's very relationally driven. So, I think it does make a huge difference, especially if that's of value for the clinicians working for us. I think it
Yes.
does make a difference,
Which ideally it is for all of them, right?
right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Nick, thank you for that question. That was
Oh,
really kind of you. I appreciate it.
my pleasure. Thank you for answering it.
You bet. Well, I like you, and you're someone I would like to stay in contact with. So maybe you'll come back another time and answer some more questions for us. I would love to hear more about your program and how that works. So if you want to pick a part of that and come back or a couple parts and tell us about it, please let me know.
I'm telling you right now that I would love to do that.
All
So
right,
if you're
great.
really interested in that, will you have your person reach out to me and we will put it on the books because I'd love to talk to you
I
about that.
I will indeed. So folks, this is a live
You're
demo.
seeing it in
Right, you're seeing it
action.
right now. Thank you, Nick Bognar. What a wonderful conversation. Thank you all for joining us today. Please come back and be with us next time. Be well.